Hey guys, my name is Sung, and yeah, I'm a young adult. I've been in Philly for about 2 years. I'm going to share today particularly about this conference that I went to this past summer called the Daniel Summit. I'm going to give a quick background on sort of what I do and in context as to why I went to this conference and just kind of like the work that I do on a daily basis. So yeah, so I went to Syracuse University. Proud Orangeman, yes. Our mascot is a literal orange. Otto, a really cute guy. I studied sport management. So that major, I had no idea what I was doing going into it. I just had the word sports in there, and I love sports. I love basketball. So got a sport management degree. I passed. I got a Spanish minor. With a minor, I was actually one class away from getting a double major, but I couldn't count to 27 credits. So after I graduated, I got 24 credits and got a minor. What I do now, I work for the 76ers. So how many of you guys are basketball fans? Yeah. Pretty big cut? All right, cool. So yeah, I went to Syracuse. It's a big basketball program. I did some internships with NBA on TNT. If you guys ever watch sports on TV. NASCAR, which is pretty different just in terms of the demographics, and obviously like an Asian working for NASCAR just doesn't really make any sense. But, it's a minority program, so I did that, which was really cool. And I work for the Sixers, so I'll explain kind of like what I do, because when I say that, people who are fans are like, oh, what do you do for the Sixers? Like, do you coach the team? Do you play for the team? Are you in the box office like selling like stubs of tickets? Like, what do you do? So I have some pictures that I'm going to show you guys. If you can go to the next slide. So just a quick background on what I do is I work in group sales and group events. So I work with churches, organizations, youth basketball leagues, nonprofits, basically anyone who wants to have an outing at our game. And so top left, I worked with Jeremy Lin and his agent, set up like a post-game like meet and greet. I figured I'd show you guys because you guys are Asian and probably like Jeremy Lin. There's the one thing with like Chris Paul, he's in like a high five tunnel for another group. I do like performances during the games, and then I just put a picture of Steph Curry just to figure everyone likes Steph Curry. So that's kind of like what I do on a daily basis during the season. So just kind of like an overall experience of what it's like working for the Sixers. It's in sports, so it's obviously like a lot of fun, but there's also like a business aspect to it. So, but at the end of the day, it's still we have a good time. We have a really good culture, and the reason I share this is because the culture that we enforce at work really helps me to open up and share about my life outside of work, and it's not just a superficial, hey, how was your weekend? Oh, it was good. How was yours? And ending it like that. It's really like, hey, like, what are you doing this weekend? And people are able to share the things outside of work. So it helps me, and it helps me to be brave and say like, hey, like I'm going to church this weekend, or like we have different conversations about really like things that are going on in our lives outside of work, with family matters, with friends. So like with my boss, I can talk to him about what's going on, what's going on with his life, and it's really encouraged to just share those kind of deep things, things that you wouldn't necessarily share in the workplace. So even with my faith, I'm able to share that, which I think is great. The conference I'm going to share with you guys about is called the Daniel Summit, and the conference is basically it was held in Carlsbad, California, which was just a little north of San Diego. And the conference was a meeting and gathering of just believers who work in the sports industry. So even within sports, it's a pretty niche industry. I don't think you guys know really a lot of people who would work in sports, and then to have believers within that industry, I think is really tough to find. And I didn't know that there were really any believers at all. And I think the conference was created because I think a lot of the believers within the industry felt really isolated, and they didn't know how to come together and really be a light to the world in the workplace. So this conference was created, and actually I had a meeting with one of my directors once, just a one-on-one meeting, and he asked me one day, like, hey, like, what do you do outside of work? So I talked about GCC and talked about you guys and the church, and him knowing that I was a believer, he goes, actually, I know about this conference, you should definitely attend. So I was one of the first people to sign up. The guy who started it, he's now like the chief marketing officer of the Miami Dolphins. So a lot of high-up executives who wanted to start this conference and really just bring believers together, and that's what I kind of wanted to share with you guys today. So yeah, again, the goals that the conference presented to us was challenge and encourage believers to use a sports and entertainment platform for God, equip attendees to be better leaders, executives, workers, and parents, and then of course create a support system throughout the year to encourage one another. Of course, I have the church, and I think kind of to answer the question of why we need Jesus and why we need this church is because I think really the temptations are really out there. I think working, when you're making money, when you have the income, when you're living independently, I think there's a lot of different ways that people like to spend time and find this like longing and satisfaction. Even working in sports, I think when people watch basketball in Philadelphia, Allen Iverson, he's like the idol, right? Everyone loves Allen Iverson, and people just cling on for like this savior and people just want to be and belong to something, right? And so I see it from a fan perspective, but also from just in general as people. We just crave and we just want to be loved, and I think that's why we need Jesus, right? Like, and I'm still working on that, honestly. Like sometimes I struggle with believing that God is alive, that God is real, and the church really helps me stay accountable to that. So. The main points that I learned that I want to share with you guys that maybe you guys can take away no matter what industry or no matter what you guys are doing. The first one was be excellent at your work and in your craft. I think for us as Christians, maybe it's easier to be like, oh, Jesus loves me, like I can just kind of like, lay low and, oh, I'm saved and it's all by grace, so I'm not going to do anything. But in fact, I think when we're working, I think we should be working really hard and like, not for ourselves, but to be used and people to pay attention to us, and then when we can say like, no, this isn't me, like this is what I believe in, and I think there's power in people who are working really hard and who are able to give the credit to God. I think when you guys even see it in sports, like Steph Curry, and I know you guys already saw him, but everyone loved. I think a lot of Christians do like him, right, to a certain extent, because he is like a bold Christian. He is very bold about it. And we like that, right? So I think God can use us in the same way with wherever we are, in your office, in your school, in your classrooms, where you guys are excellent, but then you give the credit to God because we believe that He's the ultimate Savior and He saved us, and this work that we're doing in this life, in this world, is not everything, That's the first point. And then introducing and welcoming God to my work. In terms of introducing God to our work, how I've been able to do that is, again, just being kind of outspoken about my faith and telling people, like, hey, like, I go to church and, like, this is what I believe in. I work at, my job is basically in sales, so sometimes even when I'm on the phone with clients, I sometimes work with, like, pastors or, like, churches of different organizations or just believers, and, I remember this one pastor, he's like, hey, like, son, so what are you learning in Bible study right now? And I'm on the phone call right now, and there's coworkers next to me, and I'm like, and I was, like, kind of nervous, like, do I say, like, I'm reading from the book of Ephesians, or like, do I just kind of brush it off? But even with like the different relationships that I have with the clients that I work with and the groups that I work with, really able to be bold and like kind of sharing with them like that I am a believer, and that hopefully people who are around me can hear that and understand that that there are Christians, and that I'm a believer, and that I want to use this platform of sports to really glorify God. And then, of course, being a salt and light of this world. Sports, the conference was created, again, because sports is interesting because I think people follow it so religiously, right? Like, I work in sales, and so, like, when you sell, like, insurance or vacuums or air conditioners, whatever, like, cars, like, whatever you sell, right? There's not, like, that emotional investment into it that much. But in sports, like, people, like, are hooked onto it, right? So there's, like, this... people check their phones on a nightly, on an hourly basis. Fantasy football's coming up. I'm sure you guys are getting ready for that. You guys are checking your phones. Like, there's this crazy demand for it. And if I can somehow use my work and my affiliation with the Sixers as a platform for God's kingdom, that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. And that's what the conference was really for, was to, even though I'm not a player, I'm not at the forefront and the spotlight, just being affiliated within the organization and the industry, I really look forward to somehow sharing with others about my testimony and my faith. Just some prayers. Just pray that God can use me to influence this industry. The industry in sports is pretty, I guess just the nature of it, right? I mean, we work a ton, and people work a ton, and the job can be fun, but it's also really demanding, and I think people are attracted to it because of just the nature of sports or entertainment, and I think that can be very worldly at times, right? Because we're attached to just these things that we like. And so, if you guys could just pray that I can be bigger and be better than just working for the Sixers because I work for the Sixers, but really using it because I love Jesus and I want to spread His kingdom. That's one prayer of mine. Also, just continuing to grow my personal walk. I think if I want to really share with others about my faith, I need to be bold myself and really grow. And so, just keeping myself accountable and not putting up a front where maybe sometimes people can think that I'm a believer, but maybe I'm like really struggling on the inside. And then thirdly, just boldness to tell us about Jesus. In my action, I think that's really important for us in the workplace, because I think there is a line of, not being a super Jesus freak, outrightly, but I think there is also a time and place where we can develop good relationships with coworkers and friends and people in the workplace to really share about who Jesus is all about. I'll share a quick, success story. My manager, he's actually a believer, and so it's really encouraging. When I have one-on-one meetings with him, and he's asking me, how I'm doing with my accounts and my job and my numbers and all that. Where we can also just step back and be like, hey, how's your church? How's Bible study going for you? Like, did you find a church? My boss is pretty new here, so being able to step out and talk about those things, and sometimes keeping him accountable too, because he's pretty young, and so he's trying to figure this whole life thing out, is awesome. Going back to just the workplace after the conference, I was just really renewed and saw my work, my office as like a mission field, and so I really see a lot of opportunities for me to spend some time with people maybe I wouldn't spend otherwise, and just showing them love, I guess, and telling them that, hey, I'm a believer, what about you? And I think there are more believers wherever you guys are. I know it may seem like you guys are the only people in whatever field you guys are in, but I really do think that there are believers, and for us to be bold as individuals and as a church, I think that could really encourage others to do the same and build a network of believers just wherever you guys are. So that's about it. Thanks for listening, and yeah.